Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast. What do you value? What dreams do you want to turn into reality? What obstacles might show up? What pain is waiting for you? And what do you need to keep focused on? Or else that dream will absolutely that pain will absolutely overwhelm that dream and either delay it, or if it's bad enough, it'll destroy it. I have two women that I've been working with the last few days. They're both in these experiences right now, one physical, one emotional, but it doesn't matter if the pain's physical because it'll still turn emotional for us. And it is threatening both of them about what they believe they can achieve and how they can move forward. Now, while I'm not going to give you the details of their stories because they have complete confidentiality, what I'll do is use some of the things that I've been through and what you need to know about the terror barrier, evidence-based beliefs, and what you need to value to turn your dreams into reality, because those are all the same thing. It's a continuation of a process. So that way, when the obstacle shows up, because it is not a question of if, it is a question of when that obstacle shows up, you'll be able to use it as a stepping stone for your next level of success. Because if you do not, it will wind up becoming a weight that will crush you and keep you from moving forward. So here's the first story. Had a client who experienced an unexpected medical emergency. Took her out. The pain was so extreme. Just as she was on the verge of upgrading her identity. So this is what I experienced in the past whenever I was working in corporate. I had been given several departments to run. It's the first time that it ever happened for me. And not long into it, I fell. And when I fell, I put my arm out to brace the fall, wound up dislocating my elbow and jacking up my shoulder with my rotator cuff. It was 2 months in a cast and then another 10 months of intense physical therapy 5 days a week to get the use of my arm back. And it wasn't very long into all of this that I'm going, I don't know, can I run these departments? Can I physically show up when I'm only getting a few hours of sleep every single night? Can I continue to physically show up and be able to move forward? Or should I just say, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. I can't do any of this justice right now. 91 days is how long it takes for your identity to upgrade or downgrade. When you're in a situation, an emotional situation for 3 weeks, your very powerful mind, known as your subconscious, which runs all of your habits and patterns, and whether you're a success or a failure, is simply run by your subconscious. It takes 21 days of continued emotional experiences, immersion in those emotions, when your subconscious goes, oh, well, I guess I need to be able to look for things that are going to trigger these emotions, because the subconscious doesn't judge it as good or bad. It just runs the program. And if it's something you repeatedly experience, well, it's going, You're an adult now. You have a conscious awareness of whether you want to keep experiencing this or not. So if you keep putting us into it, you must want to experience it. And now we'll find ways to continue that. And then after 91 days, it becomes part of your identity, those experiences, to where now you don't even need to think about it. It just happens for you. So extreme emotional pain. Subconscious is going, what do you want to do? Behavioral science tells us that there are only two types of pathways in your brain. There's either progress moving towards something, or there's pain avoidance moving away from something. And if you're in pain avoidance, if you're activating those neural pathways, you're never going to get close to turning your dreams into reality. And once it becomes part of your identity, it is very easy to continue to allow yourself to be known as what's called emotional flooding, that I'll get to on our second case. Emotional flooding that keeps you stuck and struggling. And it is very easy for pain, physical pain, to turn into emotions of, I cannot do anything with this. So 21 days, the mind begins to optimize those emotions. And then 91 days, it says, this is who you are. So the client is in physical pain, but it's not going to continue for 21 days. She's going to be able to get on top of this. But she's wondering, did the powerful part of her mind actually trigger this pain? And if it didn't trigger it, did it actually turn it on even higher than what it needed to be because of what's known as the terror barrier? So I explained a moment ago about your identity. It takes 91 days of a continued experience before it becomes part of your identity. When you go to upgrade that identity, your subconscious mind is not going to be thrilled with it, because after the age of 13, it doesn't want to learn anything new. So it's going to go, really? You're sure you want to do this? I'm going to test you and make sure you want to do this. So take a piece of paper, down at the bottom, write you. Up at the very top, write your dreams turned into reality. Now you start taking action to move up towards that dream, like my one client was doing. Just like whenever I was in corporate and all of a sudden took on all of those extra departments, had never experienced that type of promotion whatsoever. My client was doing the same thing, was a couple of months into that identity upgrade to where she was moving into a level of influence, of power that she had never experienced before. So the subconscious is going, oh, we have to adapt to this new power situation. Remember, the subconscious doesn't want to learn anything new. So it's going to go, I'm going to throw some roadblocks in the way and see if maybe we can't go back to our familiar zone, what we're used to doing, being, and focusing on. So it throws a few roadblocks. So if you have that piece of paper and you're moving up, and all of a sudden you've got some obstacles in your way, but you continue going. You continue to climb over those, and the subconscious goes, really? Are you sure? And it throws more roadblocks in your way. And maybe now you're slowing down, but okay, no, I still want to turn this dream into reality. I'm going to keep going. And then the subconscious whips out everything. And so now it's this crazy line being drawn all over the paper where you don't see any way through it. And for most people, that's when they stop. And then they go back down to the bottom and they start all over again. But the next time they decide to go for their dream, this is what the subconscious does. It whips out that crazy line that was all over the place. It whips it out even sooner because it knows how to stop you. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The subconscious didn't create those situations. There are always going to be obstacles and moving towards what it is that you want to experience, because you have to earn the wisdom to have that goal. I believe it was Carl Jung who said, beware wisdom that has not been earned. You have to develop more of who you are to move forward. So it's not that the subconscious created those blocks. Those blocks were always there. Your subconscious just made you super sensitive to them. So my client who's experiencing this pain says, how do I know when to pause on my dream and take care of myself? And how do I know when to continue to move forward no matter what the pain is telling me? To which I replied back, they're not exclusive of each other. They're the same thing. Yes, you will need to pause, just like I had to, for 5 days a week for that physical therapy to get use of my arm back again. But that didn't mean life stopped. It means I had to get more creative. And by the way, creativity and curiosity are two of the highest brainwave states there are. So I did not say my dream will be delayed, nor will it be denied. I'm keeping it. I've just got to bring out me even stronger to find my way there. She thought about it for a little bit and she said, you know what? I'm going to participate in extreme self-care, taking care of myself physically. But I will earn that self-care because I'm taking the actions on moving me forward. The pain does not define me. And so she put together a plan to where she would work past the point where she thought she wouldn't be able to. See, how do you know what you're truly capable of doing? You do not, because you keep going back down to your familiar zone. You've heard me say it before. Some people call it a comfort zone. There's nothing comfortable about being in this place at all. So you've got to expand it. You've got to move on. You've got to move through your terror barrier. And the only way you can do that is with consistent action over 21 days. And then the neural pathways in the brain, behavioral science has proven that the neural pathways in the brain go, oh, you want us to keep moving forward. You want us to keep discovering what it is that we can do. And the pain lessens every single day because the brain begins to put out dopamine. Dopamine is that feel-good drug. And then the body begins to adapt on continuing to move forward. And before very long, you have moved through that terror barrier into the growth zone. But you can't step from your familiar zone into the growth zone. You always have to go through the terror barrier. So now we're going to talk about my second client who is emotionally overwhelmed. Well, they're not a client. And I'm not sure that I would take them on as a client at this point. And here's the reason why. They're mimicking who I was many years ago. Many years ago, I was betrayed by someone very close in my life. And I went into the therapy over it. Now, you need to know, I am not a therapist. I am a hypnotist and a rapid results coach. What does that mean? I know how your brain works for either moving into progress or avoiding pain. I also know how it's going to try to stop you. I use the power of your mind in that highly suggestible state to say these obstacles are going to show up and we're actually going to use them to turn us on at our very best. But when I was going through my own personal experience, I didn't know any of this. So I went into a therapist. I was sharing with her what I needed to have in life. I thought all I was doing was bitching, moaning, whining, and complaining about the problems I was having and about how everybody else was going to have to change before I was going to be okay. I was refusing to take my power back. It's known as transfer of authority or transfer of power. And I was saying somebody else is going to have to make this okay before I'm okay. And it was on our third visit. She looked at me and she goes, I can't see anymore and I can't help you. You already know what you need to do. I had been betrayed. I knew what I needed to do. You know, it was 5 years before I took action on it. 5 years of being emotionally overwhelmed, pointing the finger at everybody else and telling the story repeatedly of me being in pain until finally I hit the bottom and I knew that the pain was going to take me out if I didn't do something about it. By the way, when I started taking action, it was only a couple of years later before I wound up in this industry, because I gave my pain a purpose on how I could assist others in the same situation. So if you've been in an emotional situation that has gone on longer than 3 weeks, to where you're flooded, and when you're flooded, you know it because you cannot focus, you cannot figure out your next step. And if it's gone on longer than 3 months, now it's part of your identity. You figure this is just who I am and how it's supposed to be. You need to understand the terror barrier is part of your everyday life. This is not a sometimes occurrence where your powerful mind will try to stop you. It's what you face every single day. I get it. I did it for years. I was miserable. The anguish and the pain that I was in was off the charts. So what is it that you need to do to be able to move through that type of emotional anguish? It's what's known as evidence-based belief. Now, the first client that I talked about, she's already got the beliefs established. She's already gone after her dreams. She's turned so many of them into her reality. She is not starting out at the place that I'm getting ready to share with you right now. She is starting out at the place that she's already powerful. She's just saying, okay, I've had this show up in my life. How do I take care of me and keep continuing on with my dream? This second person is not like that at all. She doesn't even know sometimes how she's going to get through the day. So the subconscious, when it is experiencing that type of identity, it says, is there not enough evidence to convict me that I'm powerful? Is there enough evidence to prove that I'm ready to move forward? Is there enough evidence that says I need to look at expanding my belief at who I should be and what I should be doing? And that evidence comes through action. And I'll tell you right now, that is the last thing you want to do. You want to read about it. You want to talk about it. By the way, my clients know I will listen to your painful story the first time. And I will listen to various chapters of it when you come back, if you need to come back, because typically when you come back in to see me, it's going to be on another area of your life that you want to be an absolute rock star in. It is not going to be the same problem. But that's not what you want to do. You want to continue to tell the story about how you've been hurt. And every time you tell that story, you're taking your power and you're assigning it to other people, saying they hurt me, they hold the power over me, that this one let me down, this one didn't follow through. You can never improve the quality of your life when someone else holds the energy, the focus, and the implementation that you're going to need to be able to move past your terror barrier. So, consistent action. Consistent action, we already know from the beginning when I said 21 days for emotional optimization, consistent action every single day. This is not like taking one action and going, okay, I'm going to sit back and see what the answer is on that one. Welcome to your subconscious stopping you. No, every single day for 21 days. And then the pain starts to lessen because your brain's going, oh, you actually want to move forward? Okay. And you start to feel better about the actions you're taking. Now, we're all used to hearing how our body will follow our brain. But there's another rule that most people do not know about, and it's called your psychology will follow your physiology, which is a fancy name to say that your brain will follow your body. When you're taking action every single day for 21 days, it says, this is who I am. I'm taking my power back. I'm moving towards that dream. I don't know every action I'm supposed to take, but I know the action I'm going to take today. And by the way, it's the very thing you're resisting. I don't know what that very thing is that you've been avoiding, but you do. It's going to be different for every single individual, but I'll tell you right now, it is not going to be reading another book. It's not going to be watching another video like this. It is not going to be telling another person your painful sob story that continues to reinforce why you don't have the power to make a difference in your own life. Okay, so every single day, the very thing you've been resisting is the very thing you need to be taking action on. After 21 days, now you're going to start feeling better. And then 91 days, this is who you are. Sometimes when you're faced with a decision, you can't make it because you haven't earned the right to make it, because you're not taking the actions for your empowerment. So maybe make that decision, maybe after 91 days, when you've proved that this is your identity of power. So first you take the actions, and then after you take the actions, 21 days consistently, now you're going to start experiencing what's known as emotional optimization, where your very powerful mind is going to look for the things that are going to continue to empower you. You continue to do that, and approximately 6 to 8 weeks in, now you're going to start experiencing clarity and mental focus. That the path is beginning to look brighter. Why? Because you've literally lit up the area of your brain that is known as progress neural pathways, moving towards that dream instead of trying to avoid what's keeping you from it. And then that's the area when insight shows up. Wisdom. You will absolutely amaze yourself on what you can accomplish. All right. If you feel that I might be of assistance for you on this, because those obstacles are not going to go away. What I do is I work with what's known as authoritative post-hypnotic suggestions. Woo! Fancy name, right? It simply means that when you're in a highly suggestible state for progress, that I place you in, that I then give you a tool that you're going to use after the session is over with, that whenever the obstacle shows up, you're going to use it as a pedestal for your next level of progress, because they're not going to go away. It's how you adapt. It's how you bring yourself out at your very best. If this might be something you want to explore me assisting you with, you can go to canhypnosishelpyou.com. It'll give you some information. It'll also let you know that you can text me and ask for a complimentary consult. By the way, if you decide to text me and ask for that, you need to put in the text that it's me that you want to talk to, not one of my associates. So let's begin to wrap all of this up with in your plan of action. Step number 1, the terror barrier. Anytime you move towards a dream, the terror barrier is going to show up. Expect it. And what are you going to do about it? Step number 2, what you're going to do is you're going to take continued actions for progress over 21 days. And step number 3 is that there needs to be self-care, but not pain avoidance. Self-care is, I need to pause for a little bit and feel like I'm being empowered, I'm being refreshed, I'm being renewed. Not that I'm going to avoid taking the action, but that instead I'm going to make myself stronger, that whenever I move into the next step tomorrow, I'll be even better than I was today. CanHypnosisHelpYou.com, 636-699-7791. You have a brilliance about you. It is brighter than anything you have ever experienced. There are new levels out there, new dreams, not just for you, but when you're brilliant, you light up the lives of everybody around you. It is time for you to stop dimming down your light based on the pain and instead turn it on because of the progress you are capable of accomplishing. And if you don't believe it, that's okay. You borrow my belief until you can develop your own. Until we get together again, blessings on your brilliance and how you're going to make the world a better place because of it.